Welcome back to DMV Sports Zone.
Chased down by Beal in the corner for three, gets fouled and hits.
Welcome to DC.
Walker tied him out.
You know where you're at, the USA cap. You're taking it slightly, I'm taking it slightly. Now how you gon' act on you gon' be right back. When we gon' be right here, we gon' be right here. We ain't going nowhere. Welcome to DC.
What's good, everyone? It's your boy Nati with another video for the channel. Welcome back to DMV Sports Zone, and it's Nati here with my Commander starter jacket on, even though it almost touched 90 degrees in DC, but I don't care. I'm here with your Day 4 recap of the Washington Commanders training camp period, and it was a great day out there in Ashburn, Virginia at the practice facility. First off, it was Military Appreciation Day for your Washington Commanders, fitting, given the name, and also the great work that the Commanders have done for military families, or with military families in the DMV. Also, of course, head coach Ron Rivera is a military brat himself, so a very fitting day overall. Also, on the transactions front, per ESPN NFL Nation's reporter for the Commanders, John Keim, and a friend of the channel, Washington released interior offensive lineman Bo Benchois. I probably butchered that last name, but we released him, and we signed 2 tackles for additional depth on the offensive line, Alex Ekingbulu and Rashad Hill. So those were the transactions that the Commanders have made today, even though it was Saturday. Commanders still going to work. And, of course, the Commanders also officially placed Ryan Kerrigan on the reserve injured list, or reserve retired list, I should say, because Ryan Kerrigan, on Friday, officially retired as a Washington Commander. And I know that you guys saw Abdullah's thoughts on it yesterday, and you also saw our Instagram post. If you don't or didn't, make sure to follow our Instagram page, DMV Sports Zone. But I want to give my thoughts as well, because Ryan Kerrigan, man, Ryan Kerrigan's jersey was the only Redskins jersey that I had for a good 6 years. I wore this jersey out because Ryan Kerrigan was an amazing player for us. No, he wasn't one of the 10 best players in the league overall, right? But he was a great player for us. He made consecutive Pro Bowls, 95.5 sacks, played 10 years for us. But I think even more remarkable, first off, is his reliability. This man's never missed games. He was always out there on the field, always worked hard, was Mr. Reliable, right? Was Mr. Reliable. And also, consummate professional on and off the field. He was essentially Terry McLaurin before Terry McLaurin was here, right? And he grinded on the field, took care of his health off of it. In his presser on Saturday, he talked about how he basically had one regimen his entire career, one diet his entire career, and followed it every single day to a T. And what more do you have to say about Ryan Kerrigan, right? Oh, wait, there is more. He was a great person, a great member of this community. Not only was he just playing in DC and representing us through the football team, he also had amazing foundation, Blitz for the Better Foundation, and served the community throughout his 10 seasons here in DC. And I'm just thankful because he, like many people out there on Twitter, were talking about one of the last great Redskins legends to play here in DC. And even Chase Young, one of the people who came up to him and hugged him when Ryan Kerrigan entered the doors on Friday for the last time at the Commanders training camp facility in Ashburn, Virginia. Chase Young, essentially, through the media, talked about how he looked up to Ryan Kerrigan since his middle school days, like yours truly. So, man, Ryan Kerrigan, thank you so much, bro, for everything that you did for us fans, for our football team, right? Just being Mr. Reliable, being a consistent producer on the field, having consecutive double-digit sack seasons, had a couple 13.5 seasons as well, and also for all the amazing work that you did in the community. Yes, you played for Philly last year, but honestly, your 10 seasons here in DC mean even more to us, and I'm glad that you got to retire as a Commander. I'm also interested to see your next steps. You talked about how in your presser you want to land a coaching job, specifically in the NFL. Maybe you can land a job with the Commanders, a la Luke Kuechly with the Carolina Panthers, right? So we shall see there. But again, once again, Ryan Kerrigan, thank you so much for everything you did for us here in DC. It's crazy seeing Ryan Zimmerman also retire about a month ago now, and now seeing Ryan Kerrigan, I should say. Great DC legends. Also, Terry McLaurin. Wow. I know this wasn't necessarily on the field, but he did have an interview with NFL Live on ESPN today and wowed all four of the co-hosts on the show, but also wowed yours truly and probably wowed a lot of people out there. Maybe NFL fans who might not really know Terry McLaurin because he's played for the Commanders, Washington football team, Redskins, so on and so forth for so many years, right? I mean, he had everybody floored. He like he said in his press conference, right after signing the extension, continues to put his teammates first, continues to thank his teammates, family, community when talking about his extension and saying how much it means to him to just be able to give back to the community, right, at large. And also continues to say how much winning means to him in DC and how much it means for him to start off, in the lowly days of this franchise, but also eventually get to where we want to be, which is Super Bowl champs. And man, I'm just... Again, I said this throughout the 2020 season if you follow our Twitter page at DMVSportsZone, but I'll say it again. We should be, and we are, so thankful for Terry McLaurin, man. I'm thankful that Terry McLaurin's on my beloved football team I grew up watching, because he is the epitome of everything good that is to be with the Commanders and also is the face of the franchise. And like Ryan Kerrigan for so many years before him, he continues to lead this team in the right direction. Chase Young is definitively out for week 1. I know Abdullah touched on this yesterday, but yeah, potentially longer via the IR or the PUP list. It's not really surprising, but it kind of hurts. I'm not going to lie. I mean, second overall pick, right? James Smith-Williams, Casey Tuhill, Shaka Toney, F.A. Obata, so on and so forth, have to pick up the slack alongside Montez Sweat on the other side. So we shall see. So far, they've been putting up a pretty good training camp period, but we shall see if this moves forward into the start of the regular season. Also today, very notable, veteran rest day. So, no, you did not see Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat, Andrew Norwell, or Charles Leno, but it was just because they were getting some rest from practice. I think they deserve it, right? And Curtis Samuel also had a reduced workload today as well. So, that's just some updates outside of what happened on the field. But, of course, there was some action that happened on the field. And, once again, shout out to all the reporters, the beat reporters that are covering this team. Zach Selby, John Keim, who I mentioned earlier, and Matthew Peraz as well. Most notably, for this information that I'm about to convey to you guys. So first off, Antonio Gibson's back with the running backs, going through individual drills. I know I talked on day 1 about how Antonio Gibson was, on the not really participating too much in practice, but he did that today. Great to see. He is our leading running back, right? Even with Brian Robinson, and in my opinion, going to steal away some carries from Gibson as the season goes along. Also, Jahan Dotson, man, you guys saw my video from last week. You also know my thoughts from dating back all the way to when we drafted him. Jahan Dotson is a stud, guys. I'm telling you the truth. I really believe he's going to be a great player. I mean, he has all the traits, right? He has all the physical tools, and he continues to show off on the training camp practice field. I mean, he's making sick catch after sick catch. He even had a 1.5 one-hander. It depends on how you see things, from Carson Wentz as well. He also caught a pass in the end zone from Wentz on 4th down as time expired in 2-minute drill. So, man, Dotson and Terry, hopefully a healthy Curtis Samuel. That's going to be a very good receiver group and might be one of the best in the league. But I'm going to slow down on that because we need to see a healthy Curtis Samuel on the field. We need to see Jahan Dotson on the field for the first time ever in a regular season game before even jumping to that conclusion. Cole Turner was also super productive. Per Zach Selby, one of the clear standouts from camp today, caught 2 targets in the red zone, including a touchdown. Cole Turner, I know you guys, again, wanted me to talk about this early in the offseason. I apologize for the wait, but Cole Turner looks to be a very good backup tight end for us. Potentially could get a lot of reps at the start of the season with Logan Thomas likely to be out for who knows how long, right? But Cole Turner, you also have, a good group of tight ends there. John Bates as well, but Cole Turner so far has been pretty productive. And speaking of tight ends, Curtis Hodges, out of nowhere seemingly has continued to really impress during the camp period. Today he had a great touchdown between 2 defenders, capping off 2 touchdowns from the offense off of 2 consecutive 2-minute drills. A great day for the offense yet again. But Curtis Hodges, man, mate, he's just slowly but surely climbing up the tight end ladder for the Commanders. Who knows, man? He could be someone that we keep on the roster, right? There's always that guy every single year that we think is on the outside looking in, might just be a camp body, but eventually makes the roster just strictly off of work, right? I mean, Jared Patterson was kind of one of those guys last year, so we shall see. And oftentimes it's a receiver, actually. Like, we've had a Cam Sims, we've had a Steven Sims, even years before that. But, yeah, man, Cole Turner, and Curtis Hodges. De'Ami Brown also caught a touchdown pass from Taylor Heineke in practice as well. And also had a really nice sideline pass, a really nice sideline catch, I should say, in 2-minute drills. Brown definitely has heard all the noise, all the pushback from fans, including myself, about his lack of production last year, and also just him just not doing too much, like really at all, like throughout the season, through preseason, like it didn't really matter. So he's heard a lot of the noise. Hopefully, this good week of training camp, this good first week of training camp that just wrapped up, hopefully that translates over to preseason games and the regular season games, and hopefully it could be a good depth piece at receiver outside of the first 3 guys that I mentioned earlier with Samuel, McLaurin, and Dotson. Also, quarterback Sam Howell has continued to press in camp. He's been playing against third-team defenders, but he continues to impress. He's scrambling for touchdowns and 11 drills, and continues to make some really good passes. Has an arm, right? Has displayed that on the field in Ashburn, and yeah, who knows, man? Sam Howell, I know a lot of people out there think he might be the quarterback of the future, man. Maybe a couple years down the line, right? With Carson Wentz being here, fingers crossed, for a couple years, and actually being good, fingers crossed, for a couple years. But yeah, Sam Howell has continued to impress. Who knows? Maybe he could supplant Taylor Heineke as QB2 sooner rather than later. Who knows? Offensive line coach John Matsko also continues to trot out an assortment of lineups on the offensive line. Makes sense, trying to build up team camaraderie. Also trying to figure out which lineup works best for the Commanders. And Matsko is one of the best offensive line coaches in the league. We saw that last year and in the marvelous work that he did to make this offensive line one of the best in the league, despite all the injuries, the COVID that ravished the offensive line and made us start, I believe, our fourth string center at one point. And yeah, so we shall see. I think the offensive line is going to still do really well this year. I think the loss of Brandon Sheriff is going to hurt. Some fans might dismiss that, might think, oh, Nati is crazy. Here we go with the Brandon Sheriff love, the misplaced Brandon Sheriff love. But I do believe that, but I still think the offensive line is going to be very solid for us. And defensive side of things, Corn Elder, per John Keim, is having a really good camp. He's playing pretty well in coverage out there, which is needed given that we've been talking up throughout the offseason about how we're worried about the cornerback depth, right? If Corn Elder continues to show some good things, right? The defensive back depth might not look as bleak as we thought earlier in the offseason. We have Jackson, we have Fuller, we have another guy who has been a stud in training camp so far, who I'll mention a little bit later. But we also have Christian Holmes doing some good things as well, using his physical traits to be pretty good in covering receivers in training camp. So again, I like to see some of our depth guys at DB show up, because that means that this group could overall be a good one. And we also have Derek Forrest. He's not necessarily a cornerback, but he's a safety for 5th round pick out of the 2021 Washington football team, I should say, draft class at that point. Got a lot of praise from defensive backs coach Chris Harris for stopping several run plays in 11-on-11 drills. So that's great to see out of the safety. And he did some good things last year, too. I remember he caught a couple of interceptions and I think it was OTAs, actually, and did some good things in training camp, but never really showed too much in the regular season. But hopefully, man, in year 2, Forrest could be a good piece for us on that defensive back group. Benjamin St-Juste, that third guy, right? Fuller and William Jackson on the outside. Benjamin St-Juste continues to play lockdown coverage as a slot cornerback for us. Again, it's surprising me and a lot of folks because of the fact that Benjamin St-Juste is probably the most physically gifted defensive back in our defensive back group, whether it be safety or cornerback, just because of his height, his length, and everything. But they placed him in the slot, and he's doing really well. He had a really nice pass deflection when manned up against Alex Erickson in the end zone to cap off a really good week for him, really good first week for him for training camp. So I'm excited to see what St-Juste has in his second year. Last year, he actually did a lot of good things, right? A lot of people forget he was probably our most consistent cornerback, right? Especially in the early part of the season when William Jackson and Kendall Fuller inexplicably were not playing really well. And, it just was concussions. A couple of concussions, which is scary, right? Given the Jordan Reed situation that we had a couple years ago. But a couple of concussions pretty much prohibited from him having a very good rookie season overall. So I look forward to seeing what Benjamin St-Juste will bring in a second season. I think it will be a stud for us in that cornerback group. And speaking of cornerbacks, William Jackson III also continues to reportedly have a good camp. He's not thinking too much out there on the field. He said that himself in his presser post-practice, and not thinking too much like he did before the Bucks game. He also mentioned in his presser that it was really the Bucks game that sort of served as a turning point for him to really feel integrated into this defense, to really have solid footing in this defense. So since then, he's been pretty good. And he's also mentioned that the secondary's communication is 1,000 times better than it was last season. So we shall see, man. We shall see. It makes sense, right, with all the additions we made last year. But, at this point, it's all talk. I want to see it on the field. We've seen these things before. We've heard these things before, and it hasn't really translated to the field. So we need to see it first. I need to see it to believe it. Some other interesting notes: in his post-practice press conference, Chase Roulier said that he's on schedule with his recovery. He should be ready come week 1, which is great to hear. He's a very good and very underrated starting center in this league, and he's a great player on our offense. And on special teams, it looks like Alex Erickson, Dax Mills, Jared Patterson, Jaquez Ezard, and Kydrick McGowan were out there returning kicks. Didn't have a Jahan Dotson showing out there like was reported in previous days, so that's something to note. I really don't think Dotson is going to get too much work in the return game, although he looked, per our Rio Robinson, a friend of the channel, yesterday who was at training camp, he looked like he belonged out there. And I don't know, man. It should be interesting. It should be interesting to see where Jahan Dotson, if he has any sort of role in returning kicks, but I personally think he's just going to be a stud at receiver. They're going to keep him receiver, much like we did with Deshaun Jackson, right? A couple years ago, where he definitely had some return chops, although to not show it in that Monday Night Football game where he had a fumble, man. Oh, such a killer play. But he had some return chops, right? But we specifically placed him at receiver because that's where he's best played, and also because, of the slider frame, we don't want him to get injured too much, and that's why Jahan Dotson was, in my opinion, is probably going to play more receiver in the return of this year. A lot more receiver. But that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Also, I didn't even mention this at the start of the video, but go follow and like Washington on the Daily, a friend of the channel and someone who likes to promote our videos and stuff on his stories and stuff. So please go make sure to like and follow Washington on the Daily. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. This is your official Day 4 recap of the Washington Commanders training camp period for 2022. Day 5 is not going to be on Sunday. Sunday, I believe the team is taking a break, and they'll resume training camp on Monday. So, yeah, guys, see you on the next one. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the DMVSportsZone channel. We like to post fire content like this as much as possible. Also, go follow our Instagram page, all lowercase DMVSportsZone. Our TikTok as well, at DMVSportsZone. And yeah, see you guys on the next one. Nati out. Peace.